record.
Okay, so the date is November 13th, 2010. And can I ask you to state your full name?
Ralph Horio.
Oh, okay. And can I ask you when and where you were born?
Well, actually, I was born in San Jose, but it was out in the rural area, so the house I was born in was considered Los Gatos,
Mm-hmm.
and that was May 25th, 1921.
And what were your parents' names?
Well, I had two sets of parents. My birth parents were Seijiro and Shigeo Horio, and my adopted parents were Fudetaro and Shizue Horio.
Okay, and what did they do?
They were, when they first came over from Japan, they worked for a German family farming, and later on they were allowed to buy property, so they bought their own ranch in pieces. I think 3 pieces, and totaled 48 point something acres. And I remember working on that ranch forever until we were sent to camp.
And where was that ranch?
That was on Fox River.
Oh. And can I ask you, do you have any siblings, and whether they were older or younger?
Yeah, I had, I got a picture here now. The oldest was Kyoko, Kiyoko, and Shigeo, Sumito, myself, then John, Frank, Helen, Marion, and Thomas. Actually, it was like two families.
Oh, right.
So officially, I was with Fudetaro Horio and Shizuye Horio, and my brother was Shigeo and myself. So actually, we were 4, brought up as 4 in the family, although we all lived together in one house. So I've always felt like they were all brothers and sisters.
Oh, and where did you live growing up? This was in the...
This was in same house where I was born, on Foxworthy Avenue.
Oh, okay. And where did you go to school?
Grammar school, it was various, it was Hacienda in the first few years, and then Pioneer, Valley View, and then Almaden, which was kind of consolidation of all the little grammar schools. And then I went to high school in Campbell, and then San Jose State.
And then, so while you were going to school, did you help with the family business?
Yeah, all my life.
Can you tell me a little bit about that? Or?
Yeah, I got the job of translating for the old folks, going to the banks and all their business dealings.
Hmm.
So when I graduated high school, I was put in charge of all the ranches.
Oh.
So I was running
Hmm.
how many ranches? Let's see. Eventually there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 places.
Oh, wow. Um,
Overextended, you might say.
um, and then can I ask, what did you do as an adult?
Yeah, farming until we bought the mushroom farm, and then I had to run the mushroom farm and the ranches,
Hmm.
and then also start a delivery system to about 40, 50 stores
Hmm.
in San Jose, where we delivered mushrooms directly to the stores.
Hmm. So, let's see here. So,
After that, we started chip business, mushroom,
hmm.
apricot, peach chips,
Hmm.
and we call it Hawaiian Luau Foods Corporation. And that was one bad deal because we got overextended, you might say.
Hmm.
Too much for me to handle.
Hmm.
All of that plus growing the mushrooms and growing the prune orchards, it got to be too much.
And when was this was the chip business?
It was in the 70s.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I guess we maybe if I can ask you to go over all of what all of your properties were that you held.
Okay, started with the Foxworthy property, which was owned by the old folks. And then we purchased on 101 and Bailey Avenue on the corner, 44 acres, the Bailey property. And then we, on 101, we bought the
Can I ask you what if you know what date or about what date you purchased each of the
the
properties?
Bailey property was before we went to camp, so let's see. It was in the 30s,
Oh, okay.
late 30s. Which when we started getting rid of some of the properties, because everybody was getting too old, we sold it to Lester Brothers.
And when was that?
I think it was around 1980, someplace
Oh,
like
okay.
that. And little by little, the Foxworthy property, first it was the 15-acre piece in the back off of Crook Lane that we sold.
Do you know the date for that?
I don't remember. Anyway, we sold that. That became a subdivision, Willow Ranch. I'm pretty sure that Leela Lester still lives on that piece.
Oh,
Then little by little we sold from the back end of Foxworthy, but we did it, we swapped. If we sold 1 acre, we were able to buy a couple of acres,
oh, okay.
twice as much. So if we sold 20 acres here, we sold about 25 acres here and bought these two pieces.
Okay, and which pieces were those?
Well, we call it ranch number 1,
Mm-hmm.
and it was on 101 in Coyote.
Oh, okay.
There was 2 adjacent pieces. We bought another 15 acres,
Mm.
and then we swapped for the one on Laguna Avenue,
Mm. And,
made a trade, and then the one.
and do you have dates for any of these, or at least what
No,
What period
I
of
can't
time this-
remember. Let's see.
I mean,
I think these were in the 50s, I think.
okay, so do you know,
And this was in the 50s too, Laguna.
oh, okay. So a lot of,
And then the last piece we bought up here was the Kalana Avenue piece, probably around 1960.
oh, okay. And in terms of the Foxworthy, in terms of selling off the Foxworthy land, do you know, was most of the selling off also in the 50s?
Yeah, in the 50s.
Oh, what
A
time?
lot of times it was a trade. We worked with a
Right.
realtor and he would arrange a trade for us. Because we wanted to stay in farming, but then this was rapidly developing, so.
Right. Do you know, at what point? At what point did you hold property on Foxworthy until? I mean, at what point would you have sold off all of your property?
I think the last piece probably went in the 60s.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember. Let's see. Yeah, it was around 1960 when we bought this piece up here, the mushroom property.
Hmm.
I'm kind of remembering by figuring out what kind of car I was driving.
Hmm. Hmm.
Let's see. Yeah, I got a picture in here with a 59 Ford, so that was about the year we came up here, I think. Yeah, 59.
So would that have been around the time that you were finishing up selling off the
Yeah.
Foxworthy? Oh,
So after we got rid of the Foxworthy places, I think we had about 230 acres altogether.
okay. So I guess can I? Let's see what's next. Question to ask here. So I guess I'm wondering what kind of issues did you run into with taxes, if you had any?
I remember we had a lot of taxes to pay. Let's see. Oh yeah, wasn't there a Williamson Act?
Yeah, that was in 1965.
Yeah. I think we signed up.
You signed up for that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And what prompted you
Well, to
sign up?
keep the taxes down.
Okay. And do you think that from what you remember, that the Williamson Act was effective at keeping your taxes?
Yeah,
down?
it kept
Oh.
it down some,
Hmm.
and actually after about 10, 11, 12 years, started selling off some of the property.
Hmm. What made you decide to sell off the property when you did?
Well, everybody was getting older, you know, and they didn't want to work the ranches anymore. And I either had to hire people to work the ranches, or, I mean, it was such a, you know, I used to work 14 hours a day running the places.
Yeah.
I was doing all the bookkeeping,
Mm.
and there were nights when I would work about 48 hours straight, getting
Wow.
all the tax papers off for all the brothers,
Wow.
and without sleeping.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that was a lot of work.
Do you know, in terms of your participation in the Williamson Act, did you, you know, if you signed up all your properties for, or all of the eligible properties for it,
Yeah.
or? Oh, okay, so that. And did was there any point where anything seemed to change in terms of the way that the Williamson Act affected your properties, or did it pretty much stay the same?
I think it was something like signing up for 10 years or something.
Oh, okay.
And after that, and the brothers got tired of working the ranches, so we started selling. I didn't want to sell them. I wanted to keep making trades for commercial buildings, something that would bring income in,
Right.
but they just wanted to cash out. And even though I was the main guy, I didn't have all the say. I got outvoted. They all wanted to cash out, so that's what we did. I told them, you'll be sorry later when you have no other income coming in. But they didn't listen to that.
This can I also ask how, I mean, in terms of your lands, how was your relationship with the government in general? Were there different frustrations that came up, or?
No, not really. They usually left the farmers alone, kind of. So after we sold most of the property off, I went in to retirement and had problems. My wife had health problems, and the last 10 years of her life she probably spent in the hospital. Spent maybe a little over $250,000 keeping her, trying to keep her different doctors, specialists, and oh, that was a chore. I didn't mind doing it. It got to the point where I'd be walking the hospital corridors, and people got so used to seeing me, they used to call me, "Hi, Doc." They thought I belonged there. Yeah. every day for years,
Mm.
until I was in the hospital myself.
Mm.
Had a little heart attack, and
Oh.
I remember wandering the halls in my hospital gown, and the nurses would make fun of me. Here comes the Dalai Lama. That's what they used to call me. They'd go, I'm not him. But
Let's see. So, I guess I was going to ask. I mean, I think Proposition 13 passed in 1978, and affected a lot of well, wound up lowering a lot of property taxes. And I was wondering if you have any memory of that of Proposition 13 affecting any of your
we were in the process of retiring
rides.
already by then, so
Mm.
it didn't affect us.
Hmm.
I think we had gotten rid of most of the ranch property in Coyote, and
Hmm.
yeah, even here we restocked the mushroom farm even
Hmm.
to another grower, and got ripped off.
Oh. Hmm.
Was not too good.
Oh. Ripped off by the other grower. Hmm.
And the person who set up the rental agreement was not really licensed to do it. I found out later. My attorney says, well, he's not licensed to do that.
Hmm. So I guess, can I ask you, in terms of other farmers that you knew in the area, do you remember if any of them had problems with, or not necessarily problems, had any sort of issues come up, with either the Williamson Act or with anything in the late 70s?
No, I know a lot of them signed up,
Hmm.
most of them in fact,
Hmm.
and I don't know, it's, all I know is when we expanded out in the Coyote area, we had neighbors that kind of didn't like it. They said, what are you guys trying to do, take over the whole county?
Hmm.
Stuff like that. But we became friends later, so it didn't.
Hmm.
The one who did it, I brought him some jobs, welding stuff for us, so we became friends after a while.
Oh. Hmm.
As a neighbor, so.
And as far as you know, I mean, in the late 70s, after Proposition 13 passed, do you know if it affected any of the ways that the other farmers would have?
I really
business.
don't know, because we were
Right.
getting out of farming at the time,
Hmm.
and didn't pay too much attention to it.
Oh, okay. I guess. Fine. I guess I'd ask if you could go back. Are there any decisions that you'd make differently now, looking back?
Yeah, the only thing I regret was going into that food business. It took too much of my time.
this
And
was.
I had to do all the running around and making all the arrangements, the chip business.
Oh, right.
And on top of that, one of the boys that was hired to drive one of the vans for us wrecked the van, and we had two vans running around the county. It was hard to get good help, for stuff like that. And a lot of the people we dealt with, some of them tried to take advantage of the fact that, they were pretty free to do whatever they wanted, so. Whatever happened to the money you got from the, how it goes. Some money be missing, and,
But in terms of handling the properties, do you think that those decisions were ones that, I mean, obviously you had the problem with the mushroom renter, or with the mushroom deal, but other than that,
well, everything went pretty good. When I was young, I was able to work 14 hours a day, and it didn't bother me, Had to run all the payroll for all of the ranches. Pay all the bills. I used to get like different pumps. Different bill comes for every little different things we had. I think I was paying like 16 PG&E bills every month. Even here was down the other house, the well for the water system, and then the mushroom, and a well for the mushroom system, separate from they had two wells, so. Yeah, it took a lot.
Other, I guess in terms of, if there's anything else here.
Anything you could think of.
Thanks. I guess that actually gives me a pretty good idea of sort of some of the what was going on with the Williamson Act at the time, and a bit more about your experience. So I guess thank you again for
You're
willing
welcome.
to
Well,
let me interview you.
hope you got enough information there. So everybody was so anxious to just get out of farming and get their share, get more than their share. The thing is, like the Bailey property, I own, under my name, there was 1/3 of the property, and then my brother and one sister, 3 of us. That was 44 acres, but actually we spread the whole thing and gave everybody equal share when we sold it. The other property, 40 acres on Monterey Road, was myself and John's name because that was traded for the 15 acres on Coke Lane, which is under myself and John's name. But once again, we just got the money and split it among everybody. So instead of me getting half, I got about a ninth. And the same thing with the 15 acres there, adjacent to the 40. And the Kalana and Laguna properties went to everybody too. So,
Can you tell me where the Kalana and Laguna properties were?
it says on there,
Oh, okay, they were up.
Laguna, Kalana,
Oh, okay, sorry. So they were
Bailey.
Coyote.
They were all in Coyote off of,
Oh, okay.
not too far off of 101.
And-
And they're all prime orchards. That's why we went into that area, was because water there was plentiful.
Okay, and can I ask you, in terms of the timing of the selling, can I ask you when you sold off those properties? I mean, like the Kalana, Laguna, or any of the others.
What about it?
When would the what was what time period were the Coyote Valley sales? Was this?
They're all in the 70s, I think.
Oh, okay.
60s and 70s.
And
Let's see, 60s. Most of it was in the 70s or late 70s or early 80s, I think.
okay.
I think this was probably the piece here.
And
I don't have pictures, but we had on that 40-acre parcel, which was here, we had we had a lake like that in the back where we did fishing, and the kids all went fishing out there.
oh wow.
And that was about a 2-acre lake.
Oh.
And that lake was only about 10 feet below the ground level. And that's where all the water table, that's the height of the water table.
And then I guess in terms of when you sold, do you know? You mentioned that you would have made a lot more had you sold a few years later. Do you know why that was, or what?
Well, value in that area started to go up, and we sold at the bottom level instead of waiting longer. In fact, I still remember a lot of the buildings that I looked at to make swaps or trade for, instead of just selling the ranches and getting money, investing in something that brought in income. Every time I drive by one of those buildings, I think, oh, we could have had that.
Which sort of, what sort of, you know, what sort of properties or what sort of buildings these were? Or?
They were commercial buildings.
Oh, okay. Are these also in the? I mean, what? I guess what area would they have been in?
mostly San Jose and South San Francisco.
Oh, okay. Hmm. Um, can you tell me a little bit more about how the system of swapping worked?
Uh, it saved you a lot of money on taxes
Hmm.
because it's one piece for another piece in a trade rather than selling off, paying taxes on this and then having to buy the other piece.
Okay, so that was how that worked.
In fact, there was one in which we went three ways with the developer who was Kaufman and Broad. They had, they were building homes and they wanted a piece and they got involved in one of our deals where there was a piece on Capitol and Center Road near Samuel Lair there. There was a piece of land there that went into the deal where we owned it for maybe a week. And then it went to a developer after that. I don't know, it was a three-way deal, but it worked out okay.
And so what was the? How did it work out that you only owned it for a week? Was that?
Well, I kind of trying to remember. I just remember who we were dealing with, and they all seemed pretty honorable people, so it was all paperwork rather than actually money trading.
And then do you know what period that particular swap was?
That was someplace in the late 70s, I think.
So that was part of the
Yeah.
the other land.
Funny thing was, I did a wedding later on, and that place had developed, and there was a church on there later, and I did a wedding in that church. Photographed the wedding. I used to tell them, hey, I used to own this piece for a week. I had a lot of dealings with real estate people.
Can you tell me? I mean, what was your general experience in?
With real estate?
Yeah.
Well, it was all good for me, because the people we were dealing with were all nice people. In fact, after we bought the mushroom farm here, they used to buy our spent compost for their gardens by the truckloads. That used to be a job. And that's another thing I did. We had a dump truck where when we clean out, steam sterilize the spent compost and put them in a dump truck, and I'd take them out to, there was a rose garden out here that used to buy by truckload, and there were individual homes where I would have to dump 1/3 of the load here, go to another place, dump another third, and then dump the rest. I remember going up in the Los Gatos hills to one home there. I went to with the dump truck up there, and they wanted in back of the house, So I drove back to the house and the back tires went down into an old septic they gave. That was, had to get another tow truck to come pull me out. That was a wasted trip. And there was another place in Campbell where they had, between the house and the garage, there was something going across the top. And when they wanted it in the backyard, and I measured it, and it barely fit by about that much. And I went in back, dumped it, tried to come out, and the truck came up because it was empty.
Oh.
So I had to let the air out of the tires and get them down to get through there to get out.
So that
Then pump them up again at the gas station. Ah,
And so that was, what time period was this? This was when you had the mushroom farm?
yeah, it was in the 60s to mid-70s.
Oh, okay.
Ran it for about 15 years and then got everything squared away. Then they decided they wanted to sell everything. They wanted to sell this piece here too. And because it was a pretty big share. But I delayed it, luckily, because 1 year later it was triple the price.
Wow. And was that, is that just because?
So the gross sales from here, except for the homes, was going to be about $1 million for the property, and we got about 3. So, could you split that 10 ways and pay your taxes, then you don't wind up with too much.
Yeah.
So I've been through a lot, but that's life.
I just wonder, did, I mean, were, after your siblings saw, you know, that all of the real estate value went up in the, I guess in the 80s, did that change their feelings about selling? Or?
They never let on. They got their money and they invested in their own whatever. So
Do you think I mean, was the increase in land value, I mean, what do you attribute that increase in, you know, around the time that you were selling or shortly thereafter?
well, it all depends on the closeness of development. The closer the development was, the more valuable. Because developers have their problems too, you know, they have to bring in sewer lines and all that extra costs that they have to go through now. It used to be where they buy the land and the city or county would bring in everything, but now they have to pay for everything.
Do you know when that changed in terms of the county paying
I'm not
for it?
sure. I just know it was gradual.
Oh, okay.
2 minutes left on tape.
Oh, okay. Well, I think this has been very helpful, and thank you again for talking to me
Well, I
today.
hope that helped you out.
Yeah.